Hello and welcome to this week's news bulletin from the Christian Institute. Efforts to tackle teenage pregnancy should begin in preschool years, a Scottish Parliament committee is recommending. The Health and Sport Committee has completed a 6-month inquiry into why the country's teen pregnancy rate is one of the highest in Europe. Duncan McNeill, convener of the committee, said in the report, there is a view that efforts to prevent teenage pregnancy should begin as early as possible, preschool even. The report also recommended improving access to emergency contraception through specialised drop-in youth services. The recommendations come despite hearing evidence from Care for Scotland that relying on the distribution of oral and long-acting contraceptives would lead to an explosion in the rate of STIs. Staying in Scotland, and Labour MSP Elaine Smith has been attacked on social networking site Twitter because of her backing for traditional marriage. The Deputy Presiding Officer of the Scottish Parliament recently predicted she would be attacked and labelled homophobic for disagreeing with same-sex marriage. Mrs Smith said, "I intended to vote against this bill in tune with the wishes of the majority of my constituents who have contacted me." She added, "It is astonishing that a politician cannot represent the views of their constituents without being vilified and subjected to personal attacks." The Scottish Government is due to publish its gay marriage bill next week, but in a separate move by SNP ministers, plans are also being drawn up to allow straight couples to enter into civil partnerships. A Scotland for Marriage spokesman said the new move will wreck marriage, adding it would introduce a marriage-light alternative for straight couples who don't want to get hitched, giving them all the rights of marriage with none of the matrimonial responsibilities. Meanwhile, at Westminster, the government is intending to amend the criminal law, making clear that critics of gay marriage won't be committing a crime. Speaking in the House of Lords, Baroness Stowell of Beeston told peers that the Public Order Act will be reformed so that people who think same-sex marriage is wrong can say so without fear of prosecution. But Lord Deer, a leading campaigner for traditional marriage, pointed out that the Public Order Act only applies to criminal rather than civil law, which means that people are still under threat of being taken to court by individuals seeking damages. Girl Guides will no longer promise to serve God, instead pledging to be true to myself and develop my beliefs, in a move criticised for pandering to individualism and secular humanist ideas. The change, which applies to the Brownie Promise as well, will also see girls saying they will serve my community rather than my country. The pledge, however, does retain the promise to serve the Queen. Girl Guiding UK made the changes after a consultation and say they hope the new promise will allow all girls of all faiths and none to understand and feel proud of their commitment. But Andrea Williams of Christian Concern said the new promise was completely at odds with the true ethos of the guiding organisation, which was set up to encourage belief in God and a corporate identity. Lord Steele, who introduced the bill which legalised abortion in Britain 46 years ago, says he is concerned that repeat abortions are being used as a form of contraception. Department of Health statistics show that repeat abortions represented 36% of all abortions in 2011. But Anne Furedi, Chief Executive of the British Pregnancy Advisory Service, said that it's difficult for younger women to control their fertility, so repeat abortions may be necessary, adding, "It is unfair to women and wrong for politicians to assume that women can live a modern life and not have the option of accessing abortion services." However, Lord Steele says, "It is odd that so many women present for repeat abortions, some more than twice, which does suggest they are treating abortion as contraception. This was never the purpose of the 1967 reform." Young cannabis users are playing Russian roulette with their mental health, according to the Times columnist Libby Purvis. The writer and radio presenter said hospital admissions for mental disorders linked to cannabis use have risen by 50% in the last 3 years. Cannabis can cause lasting hallucinations and paranoid thinking in people who otherwise have had no mental health problems. Libby Purvis noted that a study of young Germans over a 10-year period found that those who started in their teens were nearly twice as likely to develop psychotic symptoms. Her son, Nicholas, committed suicide after suffering from a form of schizophrenia, and now she can't stand seeing healthy youngsters deliberately smoking a drug which can cause the illness. And finally, a photo of a US Marine and his bride praying before their wedding ceremony has once again caught the attention of the internet world. The picture of Josh Curtas and his bride, Bree, originally went viral back in January after Bree wrote a blog post titled Power of Prayer. It initially received tens of thousands of likes on Facebook, but following an interview Bree gave to the New York Daily News last week about the photo, it's once again grabbing people's attention. Bree told the newspaper, "My husband prayed that God would bless our marriage and that instead of focusing on each other's imperfections, we would always rely on Christ's perfection." Bree continued, "I think people are touched by the photo because it's two young people taking a minute to thank the Lord for what He's done." Well, that's all for this week. For more information and regular updates on all of our stories, plus much more, visit our website at christian.org.uk. Until next time, goodbye.